Attention! This podcast is only for adults who have graduated from the kiddie table. Listener discretion is advised. Your episode starts in 3, 2, 1. Hello there, and welcome to another amazing episode of the Lusty Library podcast. If this is indeed your first episode, I think you need to be prepared for a wild, grand old time. And if you're a repeat listener, we want to thank you very much for being loyal. And we do have to wonder if you're a little bit of a masochist there. But we will embrace you for your masochism.
Because you fit right in.
Absolutely. I'm Joey, this episode's host, and of course, I can't do this without the amazing dirty dames in the room with me. So to my right, I have the lovely Birdie.
Hi, everybody. I was waiting for a chirp.
Chirp,
Tweet.
I
know, I couldn't, I almost meowed, and that's just the opposite of what I'm all about.
Tweet. Maybe a little further down this podcast as we talk about the book you may purr. Just a little bit.
Oh, yeah. True.
And to my left, I have the second most amazing dame, or equally as amazing dame. Oh my God, she just gave me an eye roll.
Second, as in there are two in the room.
Yeah.
Not that there's an order to them at all.
No, because I
That's
love
a
you.
nice backpedal.
Yeah, I love you equally the same. I have Lex.
Hi, everybody.
So if you're a noob here, just to give you a little bit of an understanding about what we do each episode, the lovely host will pick out that episode's book. Everybody reads it. We get together into a room. We drink a shit ton of cocktails. We fight about the book, and then we rate it at the end of the day. But I will tell you for this episode, I am so happy. Because we're finally doing it. We're finally pulling the trigger. And I am bringing these two into the deep, dark world of Motorcycle Club. This episode, we're talking about Nyx, which is book 1 of the Dark and Dirty Sinners MC series by Serena Akeroyd. If you were anything like Birdie and decide that synopsises is something you don't read, I'm going to give you the synopsis of today's book from Amazon.com.
Turn off now, folks, if you don't want this. Don't get spoiled. Don't do it.
Julia, he's dark, dirty, dangerous, a brother in my dad's MC. Everything Mom told me to avoid. Everything I shouldn't want. But his dark, his dirty, and his dangerous are like catnip to me. He stirs fear into the hearts of men, but I hear his rage. I feel it like it's my own. He's a killer, shameless. Some might even call him a psycho. I just call him soulmate. We were born to raise hell together, born to make sick bastards pay for their sins, born to be the king and queens of darkness. Now the king just needs to get that memo. I don't think that spoiled it for you though, Birdie.
No, it didn't. That was a pretty good synopsis, actually.
Yeah. Really good.
Yeah.
Of course, because we can't stand to be in a room with each other without a cocktail in hand, today's drink is the Bloody Biker.
At least we're not in a room with cocks in hands.
That would bring our friendship to a whole new level.
That's a different podcast.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a different movie, in fact.
Make sure you visit our social media pages and our website for this cocktail recipe. So this is kind of like a twist on a Bloody Mary.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, I'm not going to out my age. Let's just say I'm over the age of 29. But this is my first Bloody Mary I've ever had.
I cannot.
Blows my mind.
And I know why I've never had it
Cannot.
because it fucking sucks.
What? I mean, we do have literally the opposite taste buds.
No, the olive's still in there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's for
Okay.
sucking on afterwards.
Oh.
I almost feel like I need a grilled cheese sandwich to go with this drink.
Why? Because it's like tomato soup.
Yeah, it is like tomato soup.
I don't
You gotta
taste
have it ice cold.
any booze.
No.
There's booze, I promise.
I mean, this is my kind of drink. It's savory as fuck. It's practically a meal.
Threw a garlic stuffed olive in there too, so there's a little treasure at the bottom.
Oh,
Where
fuck
I'm
yeah.
quite the opposite. Like, you can have your garlic stuffed olives. I would like my sexy Luxardo cherries on the bottom instead.
Yeah. And you'd like a rim of sugar, whereas I would like a rim of salt.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
yeah.
That's good because, in addition, we generally don't fight over the same men either. So,
As long as that's rimmed, you're all set.
yeah. So our friendship will last for a very long time. All right. Are we ready to dive in with this book?
You can just pass your drink down this way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll be
I
fine.
have to tell you that I was a little nervous picking this. So I have read MC books. I will say I started with the starter kit of Motorcycle Club books. If anyone out there has ever read Kristen Ashley, Motorcycle Man, any of the Chaos series, they're like starter kits for MC. This book is a bit darker than that.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering how
Fascinating.
deep into the genre you were placing us. So this is good to have a reference.
Pretty deep, because when you think of, if you knew me at all, everything that puts my nipples to a point, it is an alpha male who is tattooed, there's a bit on the hotter side, a little bit dominant. Can you say bad boy equals Motorcycle Club? So
Yeah.
yes, I have been swimming in this pool for a very, very long time and been very wet while I have been reading many of these books.
Nice. I was almost thinking as I was reading it, because the authors of these books do tend to do a good job introducing you to the world, even if you've never been in it. I was wondering how deep into this am I, but I felt like everything was explained really nicely.
Mm.
The only thing that I had to look up was what is a cut?
Oh, you didn't know what a cut was?
No.
Okay, so I imagine the both of you never watched Sons of Anarchy.
No.
I think that really wet a lot of panties for women when that series was out, because you had all these hot men and being bad boys and all the bad things that they did. So I think a lot of these books that you're hearing very much follow suit to that series, and it's completely sexy.
So do you want to explain to the listeners what a cut is?
A cut is actually the vest every member of the MC wears that signifies that they're part of that motorcycle club.
And they have to earn it, right?
No, so you get your cut, you earn your patches.
That's what it
Whenever you go into an MC, just like a frat, you start off as a prospect. So you're low level, you're the grunt, they give you the shitty jobs until you prove your loyalty, and then you get patched in as a full member. And then there's generally like a council to the club. And we learn about this, and that basically is what this series runs us through.
I love it. It's like fucking Girl Scouts for grown-ass men.
Yeah,
And women.
but a little different. Let's start off with this really outlined what kind of the culture is
Mm-hmm.
in a motorcycle club.
It did.
And for the two of you, which sometimes gets a little serious as we're reading these romance novels, us,
Nah.
Oh,
you
no.
can get your feathers a little bit ruffled. So the book quickly starts out with calling women
bitches.
bitches.
Bitches, club whores.
Club whores.
Sluts.
Old ladies.
Old
Yeah.
ladies.
Oh my God. The bitches, though, the bitches bugged me. But you know what I found very hilarious was that the men would call themselves cunts.
Cunts.
Yeah.
I actually kind of liked it by the end because even though it is demeaning in the way that they're using it, I really liked it. There was one moment where he was like talking about, oh, she looks good in every kind of moonlight and I'd like to fuck her in this moonlight. he asked himself if he's grown a cunt because he didn't do this romance shit.
Yeah.
And that wasn't calling himself a cunt. That was asking if he had grown a cunt.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it was kind of funny.
So it's funny because you're like, you guys take these things way too seriously sometimes. And I actually had to like frame my brain and be like, okay, we need to look at this as like an anthropological view of this society and culture. And this is their culture. And this is the dialect of their culture. Okay, now it's fine. I was dreading reading this book. When you said we were going to be reading this, I had no interest in any of the MC books. I don't go in for this culture because it does tend to be very male dominated and women are not held in high respect from the view that I've been given by most of what I've seen in pop culture. Okay, yeah. All right. I'm on board with this.
I love doing this to you.
Framed my mind and then just took the story as it went and seeing even within the book how they're changing their own culture.
Yeah.
And I mean, talk about male characters that every female wants to love. Like, this is the ultimate bad boy. The baddest of bad, but in the bestest of ways.
You want to worm yourself into their hearts and be the one that, air quotes, changes them.
Does he need changing?
Well, that's kind of the point, is they match each other.
MMC for this book is Nyx, and he's had a pretty rough past. His sister who commits suicide because she was raped.
Repeatedly.
By their uncle.
Yeah.
Fucked.
And Nyx kills his uncle for this at a young age. And he just feels this devil burning inside of him. And he needs to hunt down every pedophile he possibly can and eradicate them from the earth. That's the only way he can find peace, because he feels like this is burning inside because he let his sister down. Birdie, I really found it funny that you were saying is, does he really need to be changed? Are you an eye for an eye kind of girl? You're like...
The thing with Nyx is I was totally in the camp with Julia, where I was like, no, he's so bad for me. No, I'm never going to go with a motorcycle guy. Oh, they're all so bad. Oh, the way they treat women. But he's so hot. And he smells nice. And he looks nice. And then you find out that he's a serial killer who kills pedophiles.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
The power that he holds when he walks into a room.
Yeah.
And you can just tell that like the air changes because he's like so steeped in danger.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, oh.
Yeah, he is.
Oh my.
When the scary guys are scared of something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
So she described him as being bulkier than Luke Perry from 90210. And if you looked at the cover of the book, which, Serena, I don't know who you chose, but I looked at it for like a whole 7.5 minutes just blindly staring at those freaking abs and the V that makes smart girls go dumb. But I don't think it aligned. What did you guys feel of that? Was that hot for you? A bulked up Luke Perry?
No.
I mean,
I had to substitute my own picture in there.
If you look at very young photos of him, sure, but like he's so skinny, I can't even imagine him being
that's
that
my
bulked
problem.
up.
Yeah.
But
I get the vibe.
Okay. All right. Then comes in our FMC, Julia, who has a past with the club. Her dad was a brother in the club.
Remains a brother in the club.
Yeah, he's still their dog. And dog cheated on his wife after they had 3 kids together.
Yep.
And Julia's mom is like, I'm done. And she takes the 3 kids and goes off to Salt Lake City, Utah. She ends up dying of a heart attack in her late 40s. Julia's brothers, Hawk and North, want to get patched into the MC. So they decide that they're going to go back. And one of the first people they meet at the gate, of course, is Nyx, who's the enforcer of the MC. And he comes out and...
Well, so they show up on the night of a party that happened just after Nyx took care of one of the pedophiles.
Right.
So he's already like reliving the whole thing in his mind about his sister. He's in a dark place that night.
Yeah.
So he treats her shitty, but that's not because of her.
I think he also treats her shitty because she is a spitting image
That's
of her
true.
mother.
You're right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he had a big old crush on Lizzie Fontaine when he was a little youngin' and his shillelagh started swinging.
Yeah. I loved that there was just kind of the perfect age gap where he wasn't that old.
It wasn't gross age gap.
Right. But 14 years, it was funny. He was like, yeah, I don't really remember you from when you were a kid because I didn't really care about babies when I was 14.
Yeah.
Thank God for that.
Yeah. But like, when you put it in that perspective, like she was literally a baby when he was 14 is kind of insane.
But then you get up past a certain age and it doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
Julia comes in like a fucking bull in a china shop because she saw all the shit her mom went through and she's like, no, this is not happening to me. The only reason why I'm here is the only two people I have left on this earth are my brothers, and they want to be here. So for me to be close to them, I need to be in the club. And you're only in the club if you can fulfill one of two things, either by spreading your legs or by cooking and cleaning.
I hate that so much.
I know, right?
Like, but I get it. It's the culture.
Yeah.
Mhm. So what does she do?
Even though she hates every fucking second of it, she can burn in that kitchen. She
Not burn
can-
the food. Like,
No.
but cook well. Yes.
Isn't that what the young kids say today? Did I use the analogy in the wrong manner?
Like I would know.
I have no fucking idea. I mean, is this the appropriate use of let them cook? No.
Her cooking slaps.
Now, I just want to remind you that every sweet butt, that every club whore that is there by choice.
And they make
Yes.
that very clear.
They
make
do.
that very clear. Serena paints the picture that these women want to be there. They want to be claimed by one of the brothers in there.
Mhm.
They want to become an old lady. They willingly give it up. That they're there because they want to be there.
Yes.
Right.
That is the path that they've chosen. Again,
Nobody's there against their will.
right. And Julia makes her second mission not just cooking and feeding every single one of these brothers, but she wants to make the sweet butt's life a living fucking hell. She's just like, no, get the fuck away from me.
Well, she knows that, like, the minute she steps in there, she's got to put the guardrails in immediately, or else they're going to walk all over her and make her life a hell. So it's
Yeah.
the whole, you get in and you got to show your strength right away.
Exactly. Like, I don't think she really went in with the intention of making their lives a living hell. She went in with the intention of making her life not a living
Yes.
hell.
Right.
Agreed.
Which, super badass. Like, I want to
Yeah.
be her friend.
Right.
She seems so cool.
She's on my
She's
zombie team.
awesome.
Yeah. Total
Yeah.
zombie team, power lady.
Mm-hmm.
I would ride bitch on the back of her bike.
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck
no
yeah.
doubt.
Oh,
no
yeah.
doubt.
Oh, yeah.
And I
Yeah.
love the way she's described, obviously, because she's curvy.
Yeah.
They describe all the sweet butts as being like runway pretty, tall, lithe, artificial big boobs,
Yeah.
dyed hair, the nails.
Botox, extensions,
Yeah.
the whole kit.
That very artificial beauty, which if that's your choice,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I identify with the natural beauty
Yeah.
and that, she was curvy and a little soft in physique, but like her power made her hard. Oh,
She
yeah.
shows up just with Vaseline on her lips,
Yeah.
but she doesn't wear makeup
Mhm.
ever. That's the thing, which she added in as a note in there, which I thought was really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I liked to envision that even when she becomes the bartender later on. I'm just envisioning her with this striking long dark hair.
Oh,
and
yeah.
the way she carries herself just being so powerful, especially when we find out later when she is incapacitated. Nyx is like, oh my gosh, she's lying in the bed and she looks so small. And it's hard to believe that someone who feels so big because they feel
Yeah.
big
I
and powerful,
love that description.
that she looks so small
Small.
and vulnerable. Yeah, that was a sweet moment.
But the relationship starts off where they almost don't like each other, you think.
Okay. So we have to talk about that dynamic. So that dynamic where they're both just like, oh, well, so I guess you're going to do this, huh? Yeah, well, I guess so, and it's very much like tit for tat.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, are we in 5th grade? You know that somebody likes you when they're mean to you kind of situation. I loved it.
I loved it. And I
was
love
like, where is she going with this?
all the brothers around Nyx.
Yes.
Nyx thinks he's being cool about it.
Oh, no.
And all the brothers are like, you fell
Yeah.
2 seconds into this.
Right.
And they're just watching this unfold,
God, it's
laughing to themselves.
3rd grade, I told this kid that he had a booger nose, and I made everybody make fun of him for his booger nose because I really liked him.
Yeah.
He was really cute. And then I felt so bad because he transferred to a new school the next year, and I thought it was because of me and I was mean to him. I never got an opportunity to tell him that I just thought he was really cute, and I still regret it to this day.
Yeah. Oh,
But
God.
they had the opportunity to get over that initial hump.
Yeah.
They humped enough. But I think Julia was just trying to fight it as much as she could. Like,
Yeah.
there were numerous times in the book where she was outlining, I will never date a brother. It's not happening. I won't sleep with a brother. No.
I'm here to get on my
No.
feet, make
Yep.
enough money,
Yep.
and move to Manhattan.
Yep. And she basically had that in her head. And yeah, she broke every rule, didn't she?
Mm-hmm.
Ah.
Well, that's why we have a story.
I mean, I think I would break rules for Nyx too.
Yeah. What was really cool about the book, even though we had Nyx and Julia, which were our main characters throughout the book, you did get a perspective from some of the other brothers within the book to help round out.
Mhm.
So we got to meet Rex a little bit, who's the pres of the MC, and we met some of the other council members. So we got to meet Mav and Hawk, which is Julia's brother, and Steel
And
and
Storm.
Sin, and there's a lot of them to keep track of.
Oh, and
Lynx. Is there a book for each of these guys later?
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So remember when I said I don't want to read this book? I have no interest in MC books.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Guess what I
Mhm.
started this morning?
Oh, you fucking bitch.
I gotta tell you,
book
this
2.
Oh, my God.
this book annoyed the shit out of me.
Why?
I didn't need anything else to read. I did not need to read all 10 books within this series.
You're a monster.
You saw in book 1 how the culture in the club started to change. I'm really curious. You got a little sprinkle of the brothers. Like, who was your kind of favorite? Did anybody stick out to you right off the bat?
Well, definitely Link, because he stood out to me. He was different from all the other guys. He's got this soft, introspective side to him.
Mhm.
I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, he says that watching the romance bloom between Nyx and Julia made him feel this like romance that he hadn't felt in a long time. And he was so excited. He wanted to like go home and write a fucking poem about it. He was like, oh my gosh, this is great to witness. And they don't even know it's happening.
If I'm not mistaken, Link openly talks about how he likes anal play.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's running with a butt plug on.
Yes.
Yeah, he's got no,
Treadmill.
and he's just having a grand old time, and he's very
Yes.
open about it.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, you don't know what you're missing, guys."
Can you imagine a whole book from his perspective?
Yeah,
Like-
that's book 2.
Yeah.
Which I
Welcome
started
to
this
book
morning.
2.
Right? Fun.
Yeah.
Super fun. Yeah.
I also Link because he seems to be taking the pulse of everybody in there. He knows what's happening with brother's marriage. He kind of understands what's happening behind the scenes on everybody and is keeping an eye on that. I love that. I love that Rex is taking care of everybody and is that the head honcho.
Yeah,
And then, I just want to try out Nyx's hardware.
yeah. We'll dive into that in a tad bit. Rex was definitely who drew me. Very level-headed, very smart, taking care of everyone, still a little rough. And there was a change because his dad, Bear,
Yes.
was the one who ran the club before he did. And then when his mom died, Bear's wife, Bear left the club and left it, and they voted Rex in. So he definitely was running it as a democracy. Yes, there was a council that made all the rules, but everybody was treated fairly within that. So,
And they said that a lot of the other bikers left when Rex left too, the older ones, and the new ones coming in were very young. So that kind of also aided in the culture changing.
Yeah.
That's this young party sort of attitude where it became its own kind of frat, as opposed to having the community that Julia remembered. She didn't miss the club. She missed the old ladies.
right. Because it was a family culture
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah, it made me kind of sad to hear about the frat culture. I was just like, ugh, this place sounds fucking awful. But thinking about it with more of a family style culture, I was like, I could actually be on board with that kind of situation in another life. I think that there's something to be said for that. And I completely understand why people would want to be in that situation. But
Yeah.
it made me sick to think about just like the partying every night and the sex and the sex and the sex. Oh, God, I'm just
I'd be exhausted.
Yeah. I mean, God, am I fucking old or what?
You're getting
Do
there.
you know what? Like,
You're
everybody
getting-
likes a good fuck, but also you got to have a breather in between to be able to appreciate it.
Yeah.
Because anything you have back to back to back, I don't care what it is, starts to lose its shine. Which I
Right.
think one of them talk about that.
Yeah. Nyx, even though he did have a sweet butt, Cammy was the only person that Nyx had been with. And
Yeah.
no other brother was allowed to touch her.
Yeah.
Because he didn't share.
Did anybody feel bad for Cammy?
Yes, a little bit, especially at the end when we find out that she's actually like not all that bad. Like he treated her like shit.
No, he was very clear that there wasn't any more that was going to happen. He never led her on.
I guess so.
Agreed, but still being exclusive. Like, because he didn't share, but he also didn't fuck any of the other sweet butts. There's an implication there that she's special. She could look at it that way. Right.
Yes.
His actions were not necessarily aligned by what he was saying. So I'm not saying like he did anything wrong because he was clear the whole time. I still felt a little bad for Cammy.
Cammy was sucking Nyx off in the clubhouse.
Can you imagine walking into the club and seeing the guy that you kind of have a little bit of a thing for getting a blowjob from another lady? Oh my God. I can't even imagine.
But the reason he did it
Was exactly for that fucking purpose.
And
He
he
wanted
regrets
to-
it later.
Yeah. But he wanted to piss her off and he did.
Yeah. My favorite was he asked Julia, what color is the lipstick on my cock?
Yeah.
And Julia's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
He's
He
like,
goes,
yeah, you do.
You watched it. What color is the lipstick on my cock? She goes, hot pink. He goes, I knew you were watching.
Yeah. He loved
He
it.
loved that. Julia went away back to her bunkhouse.
Oh, yeah.
Nyx follows her.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is a very pivotal moment. He drops her off at the bunkhouse and she's like, oh, you want to get near me after you just had her mouth on your cock? You're dirty. She goes in the house.
Yes, I
Kat
forgot about
closes
that.
the door, has a moment. She's thinking about Nyx. She's fantasizing. Her panties are getting all wet. All of a sudden, she gets a knock on the door. And there is Nyx, who's now wet.
Meow, meow, meow.
And he's
meow,
like,
meow.
I took a shower.
I took a shower for you.
Yeah.
I'm no longer dirty. And I love the fact she's like, okay, all right. He goes into the bunkhouse. And what does she go and make herself?
Some hot milk.
Obsessed.
Oh my God, I thought that was so fucking cute. And
I'm
he's
obsessed.
sitting there watching her
Uh-huh.
Oh,
make the hot milk.
I mean, I think hot milk's disgusting, but
what?
yes, I
Hot
think
milk
the
with
whole thing
vanilla?
was cute.
Oh, no.
Hot milk with vanilla before bed is actually supposed to really help you sleep. So,
Yes, but in general, I think milk is gross. So, but in the context of the story, I thought it was like a really cute character fleshing out, like
Yeah.
good color.
yeah, it was great.
Yeah, really nice. And then she's like, okay, I'm going to bed. You leaving? He goes, no. And he slept on the couch in the bunkhouse that
Yeah,
night.
yeah, it was really cute that he
Cute.
just
So
stayed
he was
there.
starting to show signs early on
And I
of
liked
caring about her.
She was like, "Why are you here?" And he's like, "I don't know." Like, I liked that he was just honest about it. She acknowledged that, like, okay, he doesn't get it either. He feels something, but doesn't know why either. They're just such stupid kids.
That was very cute that he just stayed there on the sofa. It was adorable. Yeah.
So they fight each other for a very long period of time, and then they're stuck working together, and inevitably, he barges in on her as she's taking a shower.
That was insane.
Why do you think that was insane?
That was
it
so
forward? Was it too
forward.
forward for you?
Yes. It would have been one thing for him to like grab her ass while she's walking down the hallway. It's another thing for him to invade her apartment, go into her bathroom while she's in the fucking shower, and whip the curtain open on her.
No, he didn't whip the curtain on her. So he was outside. She opens the
out.
curtain to get her towel. And who was standing in front of her holding the towel?
Okay, right. But still.
And then
he broke into her fucking apartment. Or he didn't break in because they don't have doors that lock, I guess. What the fuck?
Yes, there's a lock. Her and her two brothers are living at the bunkhouse, just like any guest who goes to the MC does. I imagine there's a lock.
I see, I'm looking at it as a communal space because he is the enforcer for this compound. I would say that there is no spot within the compound that he can't walk on anytime he wants. And he gave her a specific order.
Like, to be ready.
We
gotta go in 10 minutes.
In 10 minutes. And she just went off to take a shower.
Well, she had also met a brother by the name of Lever.
Yep.
Who was fucking Jingles.
That's the best nickname.
The fact that I remember all these
because she had the little bells on her
tits.
nipples.
Ain't nobody forgetting Jingles' name.
No. And as Julia was walking by, Lever went ahead and put his hand on her, the same hand that Julia's like, oh, fuck, must have been within her Percy. And then she's got to get on the back of Nix's bite. And she smells like bacon. She's like this.
Cooking.
Yeah, because let her pretend like she doesn't want him. She's like, I lift my armpit. I smell. I'm getting into the shower really quick.
I did love that. And I also loved how much she fought, fucking him.
Yeah.
Until he finally won her over. Like, that was great. That was great.
Bertie, I thought specifically of you.
Oh, did you now?
When they were talking about the sex scenes.
Okay.
And him getting her ready for him. Because in some of the books we've read, when they've talked about getting the woman ready, they'll do like 2 fingers and they talk about how full they feel.
Yeah.
And you specifically were like, oh, fuck you.
Yeah. Right. 4 fingers. 4. That's good.
Well,
that's respectable.
She needed to be able to take 4 if she was going to take him.
So, but then at one point in the book, she does say, you know, you're not an anaconda. He's big, but he's not like disgustingly big.
Yeah.
The shower scene happens. They both agree that they're going to make this bad mistake together.
Oh, that was such a hot moment.
Yeah, it really was.
You ready to make this mistake together?
Yeah.
Whoop.
And they both agree.
Yeah.
But he says to her before he even takes a stitch of clothes off, he's like, I have to warn you. I have some piercings.
Yeah.
And they can be a little scary. She's like, what? In the middle of them getting hot and heavy, she's naked. She had her legs around him. She was up against the wall. She's ready to go. And he's like, well, hold on. I got to warn you here. And the whole thing stops and she's like, let me see.
Yeah.
Yep.
And she's literally getting down looking at his penis.
Yes.
Yeah. It's great.
And she calls it what? The Terminator?
Yes. I laughed
so good.
hard on that one.
Same. Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. It was a really good reference.
So he whips his dick out, and the dude has a top and bottom frenulum piercing, and then a Jacob's ladder that goes 3/4 up the way.
He says he uses it as a measuring stick.
As a measuring
to
stick.
how much most women can take.
I fucking loved that so much.
I love that he's like, I know about a vagina as much as an
OBGYN. Yes. Yeah. And I love that he was kind of cocky about it, but he had to know because he had to like make sure that he wasn't breaking people in half
and hurting people. And that says so much about him right there.
Yes. And he was very respectful about the warm up and the 4 fingers and the body language that he would read with her. And I really,
lubrication.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Loved the way that he talked about his dick in the sense that he knew it was big, but he understood that bigger didn't necessarily mean better. And it was all about how you used it.
I also liked that there was a little bit of shyness when he was first showing it.
Totally.
Because he had women look at it and be like, oh, fuck no, and leave. And he was waiting for her to like bolt.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, please don't let her bolt.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's cute.
Yeah, it was really, it was.
I know, it's funny to be talking about like, there's this big Terminator penis and it was cute.
Yeah.
I don't know if either of the two of you have ever seen a pierced penis. So who had to look up what these piercings were?
Oh, I didn't, but I really want to now.
You didn't.
I didn't.
I thought you would be the first person.
The way that it was described in the book was so vivid that I didn't feel the need to look it up because I truly felt that I knew what it was without even looking it up.
Huh.
I also used to work next to a tattoo and piercing parlor.
Right. I know what a Jacob's ladder looks like.
From personal experience?
Sort of, kind of, but not really. But I didn't know exactly where the frenulum was. I've seen a Prince Albert live and in person, but I didn't exactly know. I mean, there's not 1,000 spots, but just to have that understanding where that was. So I was curious if anyone had Googled it.
Okay, so I just Googled it, and it's exactly what I thought it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I Googled the Jacob's ladder, but now I'm going to Google the frenulum piercing, which I think I'm looking at exactly
share with the
he
class.
had.
Hold up your phone. I like the picture showing it on a cucumber.
I know. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck me. No. Somebody is spelling it Jacob's Latter.
Latcher.
Murder me in the face. No. God. No. No.
We're so
this is a bad
pretentious.
path I'm going down right now. This is a bad path I'm going down right now. The path of piercings. It looks like a
that's
fucking
a lot. There's like
that's
okay,
like piercing fail.
To explain to you the poor picture Birdie has pulled up via Google's, it is somebody who basically has captive bead rings and about 40 of them.
Oh my God.
Is that their balls?
Yep.
It's all over their scrotum.
Basically looks like dragon fruit.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And that's their balls.
Yeah.
Yep. That's that many
Listen,
piercings.
To each their own.
Okay, but so where are you going with this, girlfriend?
All right.
The people want to know.
Yeah. So who has ever been with someone who has genital piercings?
I have not.
Not I.
No, neither of you.
But let me tell you, after reading this book, I surely would like to try it out.
Really?
I'm not saying I need my husband to go get his dick pierced, but I was like, oh, I bet you that Jacob's ladder feels real good.
And Nix had outlined it in that book.
Oh, and you know what? I love the way he said it, where she was just like, well, why'd you get all these piercings?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, not for me. And she's like, what do you mean? He's like,
It's
well,
for you.
When I rub this on your clit, you're going to feel so good. And then you're going to hit that Jacob's ladder. And basically, condoms are not enough to be ribbed for your pleasure. Like, my whole fucking dick is ribbed for your pleasure. And I was like, oh my God, I do bet that feels great. Yeah. It would freak me the fuck out to do it without a condom. Because I feel like the condom would like smooth everything out. Because I would just be like, oh, what if it gets caught on something?
So you know what went through my mind? Because I do have some piercings. And sometimes the ball on the top will unscrew and pop off.
Nightmare!
That's all I could think of. And I was like,
no.
I find it hot, but I would, because I'm anal retentive, I'd be like, hold on, let me just make sure everything's good. Let me tighten all those pieces. Okay, and go.
Oh my God.
The relationship between Julia and Nick starts to progress. It almost stops dead in its tracks because Julia, of course, gets pissed at him because he does a very brother thing and leaves her somewhere, and she has to take a cab back. She's like, fuck you, I ain't dealing with this. He gets all upset because he's like, she hasn't been on the back of my bike in 3 days.
And that was after they fucked, though.
Yeah.
They fucked first, and then he didn't take her. Oh, man.
But he
the
didn't
drama.
do it by choice.
No.
He
Right.
had to
No.
go and take care of some
Club
club
business.
business, and it was very important because somebody was in their territory.
Right. Another MC was in their
Mhm.
territory, and he's the enforcer, and it's his job.
It's his
to
job.
protect the club.
And by
Enforce
It's also
me. Enforce
protecting
me.
her by protecting the club.
Right.
So ultimately, he's doing things that will help her out. But yeah.
But when you're in that lifestyle,
No, I
a
know.
lot of the old ladies and women had heard, club business. I can't tell you about it. It's club business, club business. I got to go. It's club business. So for her, she's like, oh, here we go. Already down the path. And I think at that point, you start to realize, oh, this is more for Nyx than just a fuck.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how Mr. Big, brooding, bad boy goes ahead and gets a rush STD test
Aww.
for her.
Blink,
Because
blink, blink.
He said,
Yeah.
I'll never come to you dirty.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, he did a shit ton of cute little romantic things to woo her.
I don't consider getting an STD test all that romantic,
Romantic.
Yeah.
but
In the
I consider
context.
it very considerate.
But for someone like
Yes.
him to give her the peace of mind,
Oh, God, that guy had me wrapped around his little pinky finger. Oh, man. Because I got to tell you, at first when I started reading the book, the language was so crass.
Yes.
And the bitches and
Yep.
the cunts and the
that's
And
what I
the
was worried about.
woof.
Mhm.
I was
Uh-huh.
just like, oh, my God.
I'm like, they're not going to be able to separate from that. And that's going to
Oh.
be stuck in their head. And they're never going to
Mm.
flush this story
Oh.
out.
No.
You know I love a bad.
I know you do.
Are you kidding
I
me?
know you do.
I was able to overlook quite a bit for Nyx.
Well, guess what? So did Julia. So
Yeah.
I'm going to read you this. I didn't want a biker to be looking at me like he wanted to be inside me, especially one who had half the evil cunts in this 1%er club backing off when he approached. I wasn't sure what Nyx was, but it ran deep. He had labels: biker, brother, enforcer, and yet there was something running underneath the surface. Something that probably should have scared the piss out of me, but didn't. Why? Well, apparently I had a death wish. Because what had the brothers dashing out of the way, and what had that slut Cammy quivering on her 2 high stacked heels when he summoned her like a dog, didn't scare me. Not one bit. Nyx wasn't bluster. He was cold reason.
Yeah.
So hot. So hot.
And the
Yeah.
brothers noticed it. Little by little, they're like, oh, Nixie has a little crush.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, God, anytime freaking Kendra called him Nixie, I was like, oh, I'm going to throw up in my own mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was gross.
This is not a man you call Nixie.
Mm-mm. But yeah, again, the guys that scare the scary men.
Oh, I mean, Mafia King, love it. Apparently,
Mm.
Motorcycle Club Enforcer, love it. Love it.
And the sex between the two of them was hot.
It was super hot.
They were having hot sex.
Oh, way more.
Yeah.
You know what though? Okay, so when we were talking and you were like, have you finished it yet? And I'm like, oh, I got 25% more to go. I can do that, no problem. And then I'm reading and then I got to the end and I'm like, wait, that's it? What? And the rest of it was actually the beginning of the next book. I was like, wait a minute, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Where is my screaming butt sex?
Yeah.
I needed more.
Where's my screaming butt sex?
And I get that, but that last 25% of the book was the meat and potatoes
Yes.
of an amazing storyline that ran through 10 books.
Yeah, they shoved all of that like plot bunny at the end.
Serena played it so fucking well She did that through a lot of the books, almost every single book. And every time I got to the last 25% of each book, I was like, okay, which one's next? Mav, Link, Sin. And I had to read them all.
Oh, yeah.
I had to read them all.
Very definition of a serial.
Oh, and it was so good.
Great job, Serena.
Watching that story, because I was actually captivated by that story. What did we feel about that big thread that was running through that? So you had the romance component. Book one really sets up what the MC is like, what the culture is like. But that last 25%, you had the meat and potatoes of that story.
I was surprised it went in that direction because I thought they were setting it up at the beginning of the book that it was kind of going to be a Butcher and Blackbird 2 sort of thing.
Totally.
Where they were going to go get pedophiles together.
Right.
Because she was avoiding her stepfather
Yes.
the whole time, and like that they were going to be on that same wavelength and they were just going to go be serial killers together.
Absolutely.
And then the attack happens.
Yeah.
While Nix is away to Julia. And it was that yuppie country clubber. And then we find out that he wasn't just some shitty rich kid. He was a bad, bad man.
Yeah.
And that was very much a surprise.
Yeah.
So good job, Serena.
Yeah, that was a surprise. But can we also have another book where they turn into a pair of serial killers who kill rapists? Because that sounds fun to me.
All right, so why don't we get our sexy stud to kind of read us one of the fun little dirty parts of the book? What do you think?
Oh, please.
All right, take it away.
Blindly, I grabbed for one of the pillows at the head of the bed, and in a minute flat, I had her slightly rearranged so her hips were higher. Her ass was tilted forward, and her legs were spread wide as could be. My mouth watered again at the sight of her juicy cunt, but I grabbed my sheathed dick and pressed it to her heat. The wet flesh looked so clean against the dirty lines of my cock. Not that it was dirty, but the sight of so many studs, so much metal. It was the opposite of the pristineness of her pussy. I just knew that even if she wasn't a virgin, she wasn't far off. She'd let fuckers into this cunt, but they weren't me. I was about to show her what it really meant to fuck a man. As I rocked my hips, letting my cock slide through her juices, allowing the bumps of the piercings to notch against her, to rub and rock against her tender folds, I watched as her mouth began to work, as she started to swallow, and her fingers dug deep into the sheets, clawing at them because she couldn't claw at me. When she began to twitch, I watched her stomach muscles ripple. "You're going to take as much of this as you can, aren't you, baby girl?" Yes, she concurred with a moan. I held my shaft at the base before I slipped the tip against her entrance. As I pushed inside, I waited for her to adjust. A flash of discomfort crossed over her brow, and I let her take a second to catch her breath. Reaching over with my other hand, I began to rub her clit, and within seconds, she was rocking up, her legs widening as she sought my touch. Pushing inside her, a few more inches at most, I watched her face for discomfort. The second she began to feel the ladder against her tissues, however, her tits began to shake like jello in an earthquake, and I could feel her arousal start to surge, which, in turn, made me want to blow my wad like a young guy who got his hands on a Playboy magazine for the first time.
I think one of the things that makes that so hot is it's not just talking about insertion. It's all her reaction to it. The way she's grabbing the sheets before he even enters into her, the rippling of her stomach because of the pleasure. Like, hot.
Yeah, because that's all you have to go off of when you're
Right.
looking at from his perspective. So it's super fun because what is it that's going to make the guy feel hot? Watching her reaction. So when we
Mhm.
get to see it from his perspective and that's what we see, it's hot because we're not going to know how it feels for her. We're just going to know the reaction. So I can only imagine being a writer for these kind of scenes, especially when the chapters go back and forth in perspective, how fun it is. But what really bugged me was I really wanted more descriptions from his perspective of how he was feeling. That's what the duration of these scenes really needed for me. There's a lot of descriptions from her about bursting into a million pieces and whatever, and like explosions and all kinds of stuff. But we didn't get that for him. And I wanted that so much more.
Yeah.
That was like a lot of the meat potatoes that I was missing from those scenes, which were so good.
Yeah.
And then they would just end when the flood of warm liquid. And that's all we get. That's all we fucking get.
I feel like Serena concentrated more on his perspective of the feelings.
The emotional
So,
feelings.
Really spent that time in other chapters of how he was falling, of how he all of a sudden was feeling things that he was like, what is this? Why am I growing a cunt? I think she spent the time there. But agreed, I would not say no to more description from his side.
So I loved the scene where he stands up for her at the bar and he takes the guy's fucking face and he smashes it against the door and he breaks his nose and the guy just drops.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. And I love that he just like looks over at her and they just follow each other back into the office and they fuck. And that is like, woof. That is the ultimate, like, tell me you like a bad boy. Woo. Yeah. She's like, I shouldn't like this. And I'm like, girl, I know, neither should I, but let's go. Let's go.
So really great question. Could you see yourself in this world?
Yes.
Birdie, I can peg you completely. I was like, I can see you riding bitch on the back of a guy's bike.
I will tell you, there was a guy that I dated, and one of the first times we ever hung out, we both knew that we really liked each other. And we went to this party, and somebody from our group was like pissing off the roof of the fucking brownstone that we were hanging out at. And the people whose party it was like, yo, what is your fucking person doing pissing off the roof? And we were like, oh, I don't fucking know. So we're like, yo, dude, we gotta go, like all this shit. And then something got all messed up. We're on the way out. And the guy that I was with punched the window out next to the door on the way out. And we were all like, oh, fuck, we're like, let's go, let's go, let's go. We had to run down the street, and I was just like, mama. That was so fucking hot. But that is not something you should think is hot, okay? It's not.
Okay, so I would so be immersed in that world. And I have to tell you where this addiction first came from. I'm not going to tell you the year, but I was in my 20s, and a bunch of friends and myself had decided that we wanted to go down to the NYC tattoo convention that was being held in the Roseland Ballroom. And guess who was running security at this gigantic tattoo event at the Roseland Ballroom?
The hottest guy you've ever seen?
The Hells Angels.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's where my problems began.
Oh, that's awesome. See, I don't like a Harley.
I personally love a Triumph. Like, I love the look and feel of a Triumph.
We are aligned.
Yes,
Or an Indian.
Or an Indian. I think both of them have the same bodies. But for that power between your legs, if you love a Harley, dude, then you love a Harley. If that is your personal choice. Just like some people like a compact car. Some people like an electric vehicle.
Listen.
Some people like a Ford F-150 Super Duty. I mean, everybody has their own personal choice in there.
Here's the thing. I will span a lot of the gamut with this. And this is part of the reason why I wasn't afraid to read these books, is because I medium have a motorcycle kink. And so, like, show me a guy stepping off a Ducati, taking off the helmet and running his fingers through his hair. Oh, fuck. Like,
I wonder if some of these MC guys will find a Ducati to be a pussy bike.
Interesting.
Oh, it's
Like,
definitely
it's not manly.
right. I know. But like the thing is that because there's also some Japanese bikes that
Yeah.
are super hot too. Like,
But I think that's a different type of rider than
exactly.
Mhm.
It is. But that's what I'm saying is that I have a very wide palette for the clubs. And I like me some Italian. So that's why Ducati. All right.
Yeah.
So here we are.
Again, we will not fight for the same motorcycle man either.
No, we
I'm a little
won't.
bit more grizzly and rough, and
You can have them all.
the bigger the beard, the better.
Talk to me after I've read the 10 books, but as I'm sitting
Oh,
right
wait
now.
wait a minute, Lex.
Yeah.
You think you're going to go that far?
I'm interested in the story.
Yeah, so we'll see how far you go.
We'll see how far I go. But as far as, do I want to live the MC lifestyle? No, thank you.
I'm curious to why.
It's funny. I'm listening to you guys talk about bikes and like you and I've talked about this. We want to go get our motorcycle license. I want to ride my own bike.
Yeah.
I don't want to ride bitch on somebody else's bike. But Bertie, you're talking about watching him get off the bike and take off his helmet and all that. And I'm like, give me a guy on a horse. A man who can really ride. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I mean,
Interesting. Okay.
And I'm not lining up to read cowboy books either, but like, I love a man who can ride a horse. I like watching movies and watching actors on a horse, and you can see who actually rides and who doesn't have a fucking clue.
It is hot to see a guy ride a horse well.
And I think a man who rides a horse is different.
Yeah.
In the sense of you're controlling something that is alive, that doesn't want to necessarily be controlled, that wants to run free. So that's a whole nother thing. But
you guys can have your motorcycle
Yeah.
boys, and I'm going to have my guy who can ride a horse.
I mean, can I also have one of those?
Sure.
Why choose?
Clearly, world of options. What you got?
I have one thing we need to talk about, which we haven't talked about in a couple of books for me, which is some word usage and some language.
Oh.
So you know how I feel about this. And
You?
I know. So we came into this book with a lot of very crass language, a lot of stuff that was making me feel a little bit uncomfortable. There were at least 2 words that I had to look up in the fucking dictionary.
Oh, really? What were they?
In this book. I only wrote down one of them, unfortunately, because I was just like in the moment. And then I went, but copses of trees? It's just a small group of trees. And I just thought that it was a very interesting word to use, very unusual. You do not hear that word very often. And it was really awesome. So I had to very much remove myself and say, just because the subject matter is medium crass doesn't mean the language has to be. Another one that is not entirely unusual, but deigning, to deign something. That's another one that I think is an unusual word that was used here in this book. So I just thought it was a pretty decent vocabulary and the language was diverse enough that I did feel satiated in that way.
Yeah.
I liked Serena's writing style. Her dialogue was crass because the characters are in that sort of hard world and she's using it to color the characters.
Yes.
Whereas the writing itself of the story is not crass.
No.
Can I give a really great example of the crass speech? I wrote this quote down because I really liked it. So Nix wants to give Julia his shirt to wear because he doesn't want her to wear the shirt of another man.
Henley.
To go to sleep. And she takes it and she sniffs it. And at first he's like, oh my God, is she sniffing it to see if I don't smell good? And he's like, oh no, she's sniffing it because she thinks I do smell good. And fuck if that didn't make me feel like King Dick.
Yeah.
That was how he said it. And I just really enjoyed that because I was like, you know what? That is exactly how he would say that.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was like a perfect example of the crass language, but it was in fact written very well. And I enjoyed it a lot. That's so stupid. I love it.
I was also just going to ask of a sidebar. Did y'all look at the playlist for this book?
No, I totally didn't.
Gotta say, Serena is my musical wet dream in her music selection. Like,
I was going to say, this is one of the few times I really felt like an author actually picked the songs and I wasn't second guessing, like, did the marketing department for the publishers say, hey, we've got a contractual obligation to use this artist, pick from here. Like, I was looking at the playlist going, oh my God, I love that song. Oh my God, I love that song.
Yeah.
Somebody else listens to Rancid. Fantastic.
Yes,
you know.
yes. And it's funny because you called out the playlist and I immediately went to it because it wasn't listed in the book. You had to click the Spotify link for it. And when I went in, I went, this is like nail on the head. And then I went, oh, 9 Inch Nails, Rancid. I know you don't like Papa Roach, but I was like, hey, Papa. I was like, oh, Serena, let's sit down and listen to some music and have some cocktails together. And then you can tell me more stories that you have in your head. And we can just be friendsies.
That sounds great.
Like, I could totally see this as the soundtrack to the film. Like, I can see the scenes with these songs going. But funny enough, I can't listen to songs with lyrics while I'm physically reading.
Yeah, I can't.
Because the lyrics will, like, throw me off. So I was, like, searching for something to listen to while I was reading this book. And there's this awesome band called Pelican that's a metal band, but it's almost all instrumental. You got to check it out.
Oh,
it's real good.
What do we say before we get into our ratings? We play a little game. What do you think? Is it that time?
Dun, 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 dun. It's time for Dishing with the Dames, folks.
Hey, Birdie, what you got?
Because y'all know that I don't go with the fishbowl because I just love to surprise everybody.
Make it more interesting, I guess.
Yeah, totally. Well, these questions come up in my head as we're reading these books, and there's usually a couple of them that are a little bit more dishy than others. So what I would like to know is, would you ever pay for sex?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where I actually feel like sex work should be regulated. It should have government protection. Make it an actual business. Take away the stigma from it. Give the sex workers protections and make it something that's normal. Because if people had access to this, a whole lot of bullshit that we all get upset about wouldn't be such a big deal. It's just sex.
That is true.
And as long as your partner is okay with it, I'd be like, hey, partner, do you have a problem if I go, I want to try out a Jacob's Ladder, but I don't want you to go have to have that piercing.
Right.
There's this person and they're with this agency and they're clean and it costs X amount. And instead of buying a new iPhone, I want to spend it on this. Do you care?
Right.
Then yeah, absolutely, because it's a safe way to try that out.
Yeah. I think that's what makes me the most nervous is the lack of regulation and knowing that people are making a living off of it. Yeah. I wouldn't be shocked to find if somebody was like, yeah, I'm clean, and they're not. Like, how do I know if the paperwork's legit? It's not like a regulated set of paperwork. Correct. You could just fabricate whatever the fuck you want. Yeah. So there's a lot of trust in those situations.
With someone you don't know.
Yeah.
With someone you completely don't know.
The only thing that freaks me out.
Is it Nevada where it's legal?
Yes.
One of the states it's legal.
It's Nevada.
Yeah, and it is regulated.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I guess I would have to know a lot more about it.
Right. If someone came from a reputable agency and they verified that all this information was true and stuff like that. I love the case that you just made, though, Lex, because sex work is still work. And these are people that are earning an honest living. And if there wasn't such a stigma behind it, that if you want to go try something and you and your partner decide that, hey, we want to do a threesome, but maybe not someone we know, let's go to a professional who we know we're going to be in a safe, clean environment, it will give you the opportunity to try something you may never try because you don't feel safe doing so. So I don't know. Truthfully, I don't know what the answer is. I'd probably lean towards yes, maybe. But I think having trepidations like you were just talking about, Birdie, is one of the biggest reasons why I wouldn't.
Yeah. I think if I was introduced to a certain person or situation by somebody that I knew and trusted and was given a walkthrough of the situation and the legalities and things like that, I would be like, yeah, absolutely.
But how much different is it than having a one-night stand with someone that you just picked up at a bar?
That's
It's
an
the
interesting
volume.
question.
It's the volume of people.
But
that,
again,
you
that person that you're meeting at that bar could be having a new partner every weekend.
I know. And
Or night.
who the fuck am I to talk? All right. All right. So, yeah, I mean, it's true. It's very true.
Yeah.
That is a really good
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Talk to me after 6 more cocktails and I'll have a totally different answer for you.
She'll be like, where's the biker option? Biker option, biker option.
But what you're saying is you're not going to like roll up in a car to a street corner and be like, hey, get in the back. How much are you?
Probably not.
Yeah, me neither.
No.
That's not the
No.
kind of thing I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you don't go to the fishbowl.
You know, we wanted answers. We got answers.
Yeah. Truthfully, the two of you have surprised me with some of the statements and conversations that we've kind of had today. So why don't we put a number on this? I want to know. I want to know if I did good. I feel immense pressure because I want you to experience this. And I'm just waiting for you guys to be like, what the fuck did you make me read? All right. So let's start with smut. All right, Birdie, I'm going to you. What are you giving smut? You can give it anywhere from 1 to 5 raindrops.
I'm going to give this a 4.
Girl, it made you wet.
Yeah, I mean, Nick's, it's all him. It's wrapped up in him. Yeah.
So, Lex, where you going for schmut factor?
I didn't. All right, I'm going for a 3.5 because I wanted more. And there's great sex scenes between Nyx and Julia. They're fun. There's also there's a lot of sex going on around in the environment.
Mhm.
It was Jingles who was on the pool table popping out balls.
With the pool balls out of her asshole. I loved it.
That was totally made me
awful.
think
Dude,
of,
I would have sat there and watched. I would have been like,
Oh,
one.
have you guys ever seen The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert?
no.
There's a scene in there where there is a woman who does ping pong balls out of her pussy and pops them out in a bar. And that's all I could think of during that scene.
I've seen that actually in person in Montreal, Canada.
Of course you have.
Oh my God.
Story for another day. Moving right along.
What the fuck?
But like I said, I wanted screamy butt sex. I didn't get it. So 3.5.
True.
I'm at a 3.75.
Okay.
What was there was good. Was there a lot of it? No. Could there have been a lot more? Yes. Now, if I were to rate the entire series, my score would go up from there because this book is meant to be the beginning of this.
Mm-hmm.
And when you read the entire series all the way through, I think you'll feel super satisfied in how it played out. But I went one right after the other. I don't know how I would have felt if I was waiting for these to come out. But from what I could tell, this was released in 2022 and she did them rather close to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So you could experience it as a whole. As a whole, I felt great, but for this particular book, I'm at a 3.75.
We ran into other series that were like that.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting.
Yeah. All right, so now we're moving to le romance, the heartbeat component of this. You can give this anywhere from 1 to 5 roses. All right, we're going to start with you, Lex.
I'm going with 4 roses because I actually thought it was much more romantic than sexy.
I
Which is
mean,
kind of funny for you. It's supposed to be bad boys and, dirty. But I really liked the romance between the two of them and the way they connected.
but I think that's yes, it's supposed to be bad, but it's also supposed to be mushy gushy.
Yeah, you know
Yeah.
me.
He has got that mushy gushy center that you love.
And the way he was fallen.
Yes.
Mhm. And the way she felt safe and protected. And
Yes.
yeah. 4.
Yeah.
All right, Birdie,
Yeah.
I feel you're aligning with that.
I'm completely aligned with a solid 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm at a 4 too, and I think we've kind of talked about how, because I'm such a rational individual who maybe has been burned by previous experiences, when insta love happens, I'm all like, this didn't feel like it was insta love. It felt like two people getting to know each other, connecting, and then falling quickly, which I think is super different from insta love.
Yes.
Okay. And that is kind of what gives me the heartbeat behind it. Someone who doesn't believe they have the capacity to love someone, who then falls for someone who's a good fit for them, who understands who they are, who doesn't try to change them. Because that was part of the conversations that they were having, right? There were two people, she understood his actions.
Yeah.
She was relating to him on that. That to me means two people that make a good fit for each other. So I agree on the 4. All right, this is going to be interesting. We're moving to story, plot. You can give it anywhere from 1 to 5 storybooks. All right, Birdie, where are you going with an MC book, girlfriend?
So I think I'm going to go with a 3. I've been really torn about this one. Like, should it be a 2.75 or should it be a 3? I thought it was a solid story. It had a little bit of a twist at the end. It left you definitely wanting more. It carried itself nicely. It moved forward. There was never a point, even at the beginning when I was nervous about the subject matter, that I thought I need to put this down, because she definitely kept me going. So I think, considering all of that, she moved me right along. Tisk tisk, move along. That's where I'm landing.
Great. Lex.
All right. This is going to be interesting. I'm giving it a 4.
Wow.
And I'll tell you why. Because, first of all, I did not expect to like this book. And fuck you, Serena. I really liked this book. I'm going to be reading more. I was surprised at how fleshed out the world was, that, looking at it as like its own world. The characters all have a little bit of dimension to them. I'm talking about background characters. The main characters feel fleshed out. The story, I was never rolling my eyes, unlike some of the other books where I'm like, okay, I got to suspend my disbelief for this to even work. I never had to do that. Like, I could see how this story would progress in the real world like this. Like the investigation with the cops, and there being dirty cops. And technically they're all dirty because they're either being bought by the rich people or the MC club. But the way that the structure with the different organizations are going between the Irish Mafia and the MC clubs and the Canadian MC club, like, that was all super interesting. And then you were ready for this, like, sort of crime book in that way. And then it took a left turn towards the end of the book, and it was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. And where's the next one? If you're making me want to jump into the next one, you got me. You got me with the story. And I totally was not prepared for that. And it's the way she wrote the story. So that's good writing. I'm giving it a 4.
That's a solid review, Lex.
I'm a 4, and Lex, I align with you 100%. The story was well crafted. So you took the beginning half of the book was about the dynamic of the two main characters, about the club, and then the last half you got that really starting thread of a story that goes through all 10 books. And she left you at a cliffhanger at the end, and let me tell you, as annoyed as I am, you need to read this series. She is an amazing writer. She got me to read all 10 books in a whole 6-day span. I could not stop.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was pretty intense. So 4 all the way for me. I really do enjoy your writing style, and she's going to be an author that I add into my repertoire to read more.
Damn, 10 books in 6 days, girl. You can take
right?
it.
Oh, I can take it like a champ.
Woo!
So we are going overall. How did this book make you feel? You can give it anywhere from 1 to 5 eggplants. Birdie, how did the MC book leave you?
I don't know. I I don't know. All right. I've been thinking about this a lot and I don't know.
Do you need to think some more?
I mean, I'm not going to have the waitress come back. No, I'm going to just say I think it's a 3.5 because I think it was really solid. But at the end, I will say, I was kind of like, wait, we just get the phone call that they found the ladies? And that's the end. Okay. And I didn't immediately go, oh shit, is there another book?
Mm.
And I was just like, well, I guess they'll talk about that in another book, huh? I know there's other books. Okay. So I liked it a lot and a lot more than I thought I would. But I don't know if I'm going to go read all 10 of them. But I do think that the world, I am intrigued to read another motorcycle book and understand how the different worlds might look.
Okay.
So we'll see. Will I miss Nyx though? Yes. I miss Nixie.
Okay. I can't. I am so wrong about everything I think you're like. You're not going to like. I am going to stop trying to fucking guess.
No, but that's
and
the best
just
part.
let you tell me. Lex, where are we standing?
Oh, I had such a hard time coming up with my scores for this book because, just fighting with my stupid, nerdy, pseudo-intellectual, elitist bullshit.
Yes. This is my issue as well.
I wanted to give it like a 3.1415962, blah, 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 blah.
I wanted to tell you that I didn't like this book at all because of the crassness.
But yeah, I'm going to put all that bullshit aside and just go with the fun. And I'm giving it a 4. Because I'm going to go read more. If I'm going to go read more, that means I'm sucked in. And if you read this and you like this kind of thing, then you're going to get sucked in.
Yeah.
And it is. I know what you're saying, Birdie, about like it stops where it stops. Again, to me, these are written to be serials. It's like those old time movies where they would have one every week and they were trying to get you to come back.
Yeah.
That's how these are built to go. And it's a whole thing with this genre. So I'm in for it. Okay. I'll pepper them in between the other books.
Well, so we've read 12 books so far, which means I have read a grand total of 12 romance novels.
Yeah.
12.25 if you count your first foray into the genre
true.
Back in the day where you couldn't get past page 12.
That's true. And I think what is hard in terms of the ratings for these books is that I have been raised to like a certain kind of writing and raised to have a certain kind of standard for literature in general. And I'm supposed to read Isabel Allende.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to read, the Odyssey. And
they have their places.
Yes.
Right. But it's also
so
like
this.
There's so many different ways to be entertained. And I will also tell you, I fucking love the Fast and Furious series.
Oh,
and
that is my fucking cotton candy series.
Exactly. And being entertained by Fast and Furious is too book reading and this. Like, it's just so I have to get over that.
Yes.
And just embrace being enter-fucking-tained and just
like we're not
go with it.
Out literary awards.
Right. But I will say some of them are really well written.
Yeah.
So
a good storyteller's a good storyteller.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyhow.
I like this book. This series, thank you, Serena. You get a 4.5 out of me.
Woo!
I liked it. I enjoyed it. I didn't want to stop. I wanted a conclusion to the story. Okay, please disregard the fact that I have no self-control. That really shouldn't factor into this any way, shape, or form, but I could have stopped. We've actually read a couple of series where I was able to stop. But when you get me, you get me. And I was in for the haul. This was well written. It was a great story. Listeners, we really appreciate you tuning in every other week to just hear us laugh and joke and banter and discover all these amazing books. And we want to continue to make this fun, sassy content for you. But we ultimately need your help in making that happen. We need more ears listening to how stupid we are each and every episode. And we want them to enjoy this fun that we're having here. So you're probably asking, how do you help us do that? Well, great. Go to Apple Podcast. Go to Spotify Podcast. Rate us and then write about us so that other people, when they're searching for a new podcast, immediately want to listen to us. Because I don't know why you would want to listen to anybody else but us. So thank you for being a loyal listener. Thank you for being a new listener. Please tell everybody about us. Make sure you visit us at Facebook and Instagram at the Lusty Library Podcast or visit our website, thelustylibrarypodcast.com. We'll see you next time.
Bye.